99.3 Nigeria, Info 732. Welcome to Dailies today, the second part of the show. I'm Sheriff Quadry.
I'm Jimi. Disu. Good morning.
We are live on Facebook and also on YouTube. You can watch. Let's begin. And by the way, if you like to join us on Facebook and YouTube, just search for Nigeria Info 99.3 and you'll be able to watch us live on those two platforms. We're going to start with the Vanguard newspaper, page 5 of the Vanguard. Electoral Act. Governors lament fear inability to control delegates.
Yeah, morning, Sheriff.
Good morning, sir.
The politics, especially in a country in Nigeria, politics is so unpredictable. Now, let me just summarize what has happened. In putting the Electoral Act together, there were one or two quote-unquote errors that members of the National Assembly discovered, and they had to file an amendment. Now, to put it in practical terms, what it means is that as it stands now, if I get my facts right, certain categories of people who would otherwise, it was called super delegates, would have been able to vote at the presidential primaries, will no longer have that opportunity. And of course, the government apparently might want to be using that to their own advantage. So you're going to have smaller numbers. Look at what he said here. He said, Vanguard gathered that some governors, let me start from the beginning. It says, with the non-assent to the amendment by Buhari, governors have a tough nut to crack in their quest to produce their successors and deliver their states to their preferred presidential candidates. In the past, it's the governors that, the governors had loads of influence by their presence. That is not going to happen. Vanguard gathered that some governors are lamenting their imminent absence at the primaries, unlike in the past. There are also fears that the governors may lose their hold on state delegates, especially at the presidential primaries. And it says currently presidential aspirants in the APC and PDP are devising fresh strategies to woo the few delegates that will elect the standard bearers. I think, for example, in the APC, instead of having 2,340 delegates, you're going to have just 810. This is a big spanner in the works. What it says is that it means that elected officials such as the president, governors, lawmakers, local council chairmen, ministers, and other high-ranking political top shots who used to be what they called super delegates at party conventions in the past will no longer be part of this process. And the Vanguard also says the absence of statutory or super delegates means that only 810 delegates will be at the PDP presidential primaries, while that of the APC is 2,340. Many aspirants who were thinking about consensus candidates have decided to test their strength and so on, and they go on and do various analysis. In politics, especially with us that we know how to bend the rules, circumvent the rules, turn rules around, it is not over till it is over on the final day. That is why I plead with a lot of us. I'm getting dazed in what is going on. Just sit back, in the stands and watch what is going on and watch things unfold.
Indeed.
Oh, by the way, sorry, just 1 second, no vex. It says that in the APC, because of this development and other little developments here, there might no longer be a Southwest consensus candidate. And also it says that here that the contest is actually looking very, very tight.
Do you think the South is being played?
Nah, I don't believe in this North. I deep inside me, I know that the decision on who the next president will be, 70% of it lies with the president. Whether he has, for example, he's not signing this electoral, he has the means and wherewithal.
Is he playing the South? Let me be very.
I don't think he's. I don't think
blunt
he's.
Now.
I think that the APC candidate will be a Southerner. I can bet if you have the money, you can put your money down.
I'm not a betting man.
okay, you can donate it to charity if you
It's
will,
still
but put your money
the
down.
root is betting.
I don't. I'm not going to fall victim to the propaganda about playing to the South.
Okay.
There is still something that I much as Buhari has disappointed quite a number of us on a lot of issues. I think in this one, the more I think of it,
Yeah.
the more I get to think that the next president of this country will be a Southerner. Not because he's a Southerner.
Okay.
Okay, I'm not saying that it would be a Southerner per se, but the person who I think is in the eyes of the president will most likely be a Southerner. And the president will have his way. It is a given. The powers of the president in this country is phenomenal. He will have his way. You see, because when the primaries, the PDP primaries, where this guy emerged, this gentleman, God bless his soul, Yaradua emerged. I saw a lot of, I was in Abuja then, I saw a lot of things playing out in the background. I was even with one of the candidates. And I saw the way Obasanjo was able to bulldoze his way and virtually handpick. Somebody, I don't want to raise dust, but somebody who would have been, it wasn't Jonathan that was on the cards initially, but my Lagos boy from the South, the way it was presented to him, he just said, I can't be vice president to this now. He didn't know that they were there to ask him questions if he wanted. Jonathan is a lucky man. I'm glad he's not in this thing. I think he's stepped out of it all now.
Well, there's a report this morning that APC is bent on screening him.
Well, let's see how it goes. How do you screen a man? He hasn't made the rounds. He hasn't done anything. But let's see how it goes.
Yeah, Nigerian politics. Vanguard page 8. Stop deciding graft cases on technicalities. Buhari Bawa plead with judges.
Yes. And I think that at some time I have to take one or two lawyers up with this. I remember my friend Yemi Kadi Johnson, SEN, saying how regrettable it was, for example, that political cases were decided on technicalities when the people would have made their own decision, which is the ultimate aim of democracy. Okay, so the people have voted in A, but on some technicality the school site is not this, or it doesn't have this, or on some technicality, then the other man becomes a governor. I think that we must find a way around, because there is always a technicality you can find to decide a case in A or B's favor. And of course, you know what goes on in these corruption cases to a large extent. We don't need to deny ourselves that if a man is accused of misappropriating 80-something billion, what a damage between the judge and the lawyer is going to walk out free. So I agree with this plea to the judges, and I hope the judges to. But I know that now I'm not a lawyer. If I make a mistake, I apologize ahead of time. But if I remember very well, sometime in the past, the Supreme Court has made certain decisions to say, look, legally this is not completely right, and it cannot be used as a precedent. But because we cannot pretend not to be aware of the developments, I think it was I can't remember. We're not aware of the developments. This is our pronouncement on this particular issue. And I think the same should apply in corruption cases. Adjournments, this and that, and all kinds of postponements and these injunctions and whatever. And then on the technicality, a man walks out free with so much of public money. Where there lies the conscience of the judge. Maybe that's why I'm not a lawyer. I will slam him more. So, but forget all this, the guy, you thief this money.
but I want to know whether the technicalities are avoidable, whether EFCC can cover their bases as well, whether these things are preventable.
Sheriff, the investigation prowess of our authorities here, to when you follow these cases, they are not thorough, and that's because they are not well paid, they are not well motivated. I remember speaking to. Having a discussion during one of our Amala sessions in Auntie Bumi's house with a retired policeman, then God bless his soul, he's gone now. And he was complaining about the forensic department. They're not top notch. The investigations you get here are not thorough. Some of them are compromised. You pay a man 150,000 naira a month, max, maybe 120, and you want him to investigate a 100 billion naira case. I mean, give me a break. You understand? That motivation is not there. I used to, if I remember, sometime in the 60s, there was a woman who was sent. She was a policewoman. She was, in those days, we called them CID. I don't know if you still have CID now. And she was meant to investigate this guy. She married him. She had a child for him and still caught him. Those were the days when policemen were the police. But these days, they're badly motivated. Badly motivated. They're not well treated. So what you find is a lot of the cases are shallow from the beginning. Also, some of them are compromised. The man investigating himself will leave that loophole open. So it will look as if he's done his job. But you understand what I'm saying? By arraignment, you will be amazed at the kind of arraignments that go on in our legal system.
Mr. Bauer, EFCC chairman, said in this report that as a commission, we do not expect every judicial decision to go our way, but there are instances the EFCC and many Nigerians have been left at a loss about certain judicial decisions where defendants who obviously have stolen our Commonwealth and those who have aided and abated them have been allowed to go home to enjoy their proceeds of crime on technical grounds.
Go and pick any retired policeman, maybe the man probably be in his 80s, and let him tell you why about 30 years ago the police started shooting armed robbers in their cells. Because they were frustrated. You get an armed robber, pick him in action, he gets to court and he gets bail. And the next time you go raiding, it's the same guy you pick up again, and the process follows. So out of frustration, I remember very well then, I used to live in Festac.
Okay.
At about 2 a.m., you hear gunshots, gunshots at night with police killing the robbers in their cells, out of complete frustration. When was the last time you heard of an armed robbery trial? You hear a lot of parading. We caught these 20 armed robbers, we got this. When was the last time we hear? I can't remember the last time I picked up the papers and heard that somebody was being tried for armed robbery. What you probably still have, I don't know if you still have it, is summary execution, but it was rife about 20, 15 years ago.
I know that we have many awaiting trial inmates.
Many awaiting trial inmates.
Many of them.
Many of them disappear probably from the cells. Probably. So the whole process is and I can understand where Bauer is coming from. Remember that Bauer is the first EFCC chairman that is EFCC trained from scratch.
That's right.
So his commitment is coming to bear here. But it's part of the Nigerian system that we have to clean up. Who is going to do that? I honestly don't know. I had thought that within 2-3 years of Buhari, I thought it was a Buhari of 84, that is still there now. It's the same Buhari. I'm not one of those who say that is Jubril from Sudan or any funny thing like that. But we thought that with the emergence of Buhari, we would have some improvement in that area. But it's almost turned out to be worse.
Indeed. Let's go to page 18 of the Vanguard newspaper. The growing threat of urban bandits. That's the editorial.
Oh, yeah, just in line with what we were talking about here, dispensation of justice. And the Vanguard is writing, especially in relation to the case that happened in Lekki here. Lekki 1, in an upper class area where somebody was beaten and burnt to death. There are two issues there. First of all, he was beaten. But that is bad enough. I would have thought that, okay, beating, they didn't want to beat him to death. But then he was burnt. I mean, come on, give me a break. And the Vanguard believes that many of those who are involved in these things, from the north and foreigners are from the north and foreigners from neighboring countries in the Sahel. And they say ordinarily there is nothing wrong in people from any part of the country settling in other areas or even neighboring countries in search of greener pastures. But they say that our fear is that these strange elements, they call them strange elements, whose massive movements into the south was intensified. I remember 4 years ago, I raised an alarm. Whose movements in the south was intensified during the COVID-19 pandemic lockdowns in 2020, could one day become a pawn in the hands of terrorism sponsors. They are now everywhere, even in the rural areas. They are armed, they operate their bikes in the usual daredevil manner, and are ready to kill anyone who crosses their path. By the way, what has happened to the killers of the police chief in Ajawa Estate?
No information.
No information to that effect. See? And the Vanguard argues that there are fears that these people could one day stage an armed uprising to destabilize our civic and social order. This was how the bush-based bandits started as petty cattle rustlers before they became bandits who can now attack our military targets, airports, railways, and highways. So Vanguard calls on state governments to liaise with security agencies and do the needful. They conclude by saying that these people constitute threats to our collective security and they must be checked. And I think I align myself with this editorial, which is well written. It is important that I hope we don't read any ulterior motive or meaning into this classification of people, because whether you like it or not is a reality. It is a reality, and something definitely must be done. I keep telling people, Sheriff, that I won't be surprised, and I hope it never happens, where I get a call at 6 o'clock in the morning one day, I say, Jimmy, don't go out. There's some motorcyclists all over town brandishing this and that. I've always had that mental picture. We've had people who in social media who said they have had all kinds of dreams and this. I don't know about that. But looking at the reality, it's a possibility. It is a possibility. And it must be checked. It must be checked.
And they're everywhere, just to add.
They're everywhere.
Urban, rural, everywhere.
The policeman. Move closer now. I won't touch
you. You touch me a lot. You touch me. That place is paining me now.
The policeman who was killed, he wasn't shot. He was axed. You see, the killing is killing, yes, but the gruesome manner in the middle of the town, it's not in a hidden area, it's not in the bush, in the middle of the town, you hack a police officer, senior police officer, any human being for that matter. You hack him to death.
What kind of mindset? What?
In the upper class area of town, you beat somebody to death on one hand, and then you now burn the person. And people were driving past and moving past. They were driving past, moved to the other lane and continued going. We are at rock bottom, Sheriff. We are at rock bottom. The slightest tilt like this and that's it. So let's quickly find a way to recover ourselves.
But we're banning in 6 local government now do that.
You mean the Okada?
Yes.
Well, I am not. I think the genie is out of the bottle.
Yeah.
But I think if we do have a very strong leader at state level, and then in the country as a whole, we can probably find a way to control this. There are ways by which I hear it can be controlled, but of course I can't discuss. Some of them will have to be non-legal, but definitely. And I'm sorry, that's the running battle we've been having in Lake. I mean, every time we keep talking about it. Now the genie is out of the bottle, how are you going to put it back in? But we will try. I think we should try. We should try. If there's going to be an all-out war on this set of people, let's just do it and get it over and done with now.
In fact, the Ariwa community in Lagos, they've endorsed the ban.
That's why I was so happy. I was so relieved when I got the press release of the Ariwa community to say that, look, because a lot of these people, sorry, I keep...
It's okay.
Your body is softer than the board. Okay. A lot of these people are not even Nigerians.
They alluded to that.
Yes. So they've shifted the responsibility to the government now. Let's see how the government will react.
Oh, yes. 7:52. Let's take this story before we take some messages on social media. You are biased in your monkeypox reporting. African journalists blast foreign media.
Yes, okay, so there's a new thing coming up, some kind of disease, and it's called monkeypox. I think it's almost like chickenpox. Why they use monkey and chicken, I don't know. But apparently, some African journalists have noted that in all the stories of monkeypox, it's a black man that is used as illustration, which is not the case. I don't think the fact that it is, there was a report on, and I think it was the Daily Mail one time that, somebody who had come to Nigeria, who had come to Nigeria now has monkeypox. It might not necessarily, the politics of the origin of diseases is part of, but they are now saying that, look, and trying to sensitize some of us that, look, don't always use a black man to illustrate your monkeypox story. It's part of the hidden racism that you have. Racism is rearing its ugly head. It is rearing its ugly head.
But it's always been there. I
no, but it's now because of the challenges of living.
Yeah.
Because living has become difficult. Now it's rearing its ugly head, and I hope those who want to migrate think twice, before you pack lock, stock, and barrel and start going to some country abroad. Because the resources, there's not enough to go around. The population of the world has increased only God knows how many fold, and resources are limited. I mean, you look at the United Kingdom now, the NHS has virtually collapsed. There was a case of a man who he had to do a tooth extraction, and I think he was given an appointment for 2 weeks. So what did he do? He got to one corner and hammered it out of his mouth, and then went to A&E to get himself treated. Yes.
Oh my word.
So we need to, and Africans and especially Nigerians need to be conscious that living in the world is not a tea party. I love watching Animal Kill. What's that station there? I have never seen where a lion.
Nigeria Wild.
Nigeria Wild. I've never seen where a lion will kill whatever and then pass the food to a leopard. We must know that the world is competitive. There are no freebies. There are no freebies, and so we need to understand the game. Like I said, look at in Nigeria here now. You have a foreign radio station that has stations in 3 of our languages. You ask yourself, what is the interest? They know what they're doing. How many Africans have set up stations in other countries to project Africa? None. Very little. When I say none, I mean there's no big network. There's Al Jazeera set up to take care of the Arab interest. Even that is just, we don't know who is really behind this, because one of the ways of living in the world is set up something for you. Looks as if you are doing it, but in reality, we're still controlling. We need to know that information is the number one weapon of domination in the world. It's the number one weapon. So when somebody says, I want to provide the forum so that your own people can express themselves freely, blah, 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 and you keep fighting yourselves and whatever, you will only have yourself to blame for the consequence. So we need to wake up to this. This morning, let me say it because it's out there, Peter Obi went, I don't know what he went to do in the UK. He found time to stand alone in front of number 10 to take a photograph, only Imo, just to pose for it. And I shook my head. And Tony Okukwe was getting excited about this. He tweeted it. I just replied him. He tweeted it. We still haven't got out of the mentality of second slavery. So what's the big deal? I couldn't understand what the point. He said, here is Peter Obi in the corridor of real power, and so on and so forth, almost like hailing him that is the best thing that happened. And I said to myself, when are we going to get out of all this? It's a pity. It's a pity.
Indeed, it is. But we have to go now.
Yes, we got to go.
Yeah. It's been an interesting ride. What's coming up at 9?
I have Angela Jitumobi.
Okay.
We're going to we'll look at this. Of course, Angela.
Yes.
She's her analysis on the political.
She's joining via the telephone.
Via the telephone, yes.
Okay.
She'll join us at 9 o'clock.
Okay, fantastic. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Lagos at 8 o'clock. Let's talk the plight of prisoners at our correctional centers across the country. I'm Sheriff Quadry. Good morning to you.
They don't disconnect your line sake of say you not link your national identification number to your 99.3 Nigeria Info. We are more than just radio. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at Nigeria Info FM. Check us out on Facebook at Nigeria Info 99.3. Follow us on Twitter at Nigeria Info FM and on Instagram at Nigeria Info FM Lagos for live updates as it happens. 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.